Warning. The following podcast is utter nonsense and may cause agoraphobia, kleptomania, insomnia, and oppositional defiance disorder. We are required by law to provide you with this disclaimer for hazardous materials.
And welcome to Hazardous Materials. Last week's comics this week. My name is Casey, and with me as always,
Gideon Gonzalez.
Tell me what's going on right now.
A lot of Spider-Man this week.
This is definitely a spider-themed episode.
Just to reiterate, what we do is we look at your comics that came out last week, the night before, new comics come out the next week. So that way you can be all caught up in case you missed a week.
Yep, and at the end of that, we talk about a little bit of media goodness.
Exactly. And a lot of Spider-Man titles this week, but before we get to there, we've got one big DC title to talk about because I've been buying
Black Adam's little Year of the Villain bit.
Indeed. I've been picking up all the Year of the Villain one-shots, and I was a little leery of this one is because, so a little bit of background, because it will require it. A lot of the ones you can kind of get by not knowing stuff, but so there's this evil alternate universe Batman, the Batman who laughs, who is a Jokerized Batman.
Yep.
He's the worst. And I hate him. But he's gone around. He's infected 6 heroes in the DC universe to make them into Jokerized versions. And
calling them the Secret Six.
Overall, just assholes.
I really hate that, by the way.
Yeah, I hate that they're using that name.
I really hate that they're using that. My soul is with Gail
Simone.
Thank you very much. You're completely botched that. Apparently, my soul is not completely with Gail Simone if I can't remember her name off the bat.
It's true.
Anyway, you were saying.
So one of those heroes is Billy Batson, Shazam. And if you've ever wanted to see a Jokerized 15-year-old and how obnoxious they would be, boy, howdy, do I have a character for you with King Shazam.
DC loves this angle. DC loves the obnoxious teenager.
They do.
That we all love / seriously hated with Superboy Prime.
Yes, which makes it so satisfying that we get an issue of Black Adam slam dunking this child.
Why did you hit that child? You were thinking it. I didn't mean to do it.
I have many issues with the direction Shazam, the comic, has taken lately.
Right.
But I adore that compared to what is going on with him being a evil Jokerized super child. So anyways, he comes to Kahndaq, which is currently in the middle of, not in the middle, but like on the cusp of maybe revolution against their god king Black Adam.
Yeah, a workers' revolution. People are thinking of unionizing and building a better life for themselves and such.
Which Black Adam does not care for much as he's meditating in his temple and his generals are working up the courage to tell him this. Which,
of course, he hears the entire thing.
Yes. Obviously, he's got good ears. He's got the pointy Vulcan ears.
He doesn't have the pointy Vulcan ears anymore.
I noticed that, and I was very upset.
He's not Super Spock.
Like, if Dwayne Johnson don't have no pointy ears, what's the point of doing the movie?
I know. I'd just throw it back. I'm not any part of that. No. So, give my Black Adam pointy ears back.
That leads to a fun smackdown when King Shazam arrives and is like, I'm taking over Kahndaq. I'm the new king. No, we're going to do oil money and I'm going to destroy all these buildings and stuff. And he's very, very insufferable. Even though he was like, damn, the boy, I agree with him on some policy topics, but
I hate his delivery.
Exactly. So they have a smackdown. Billy gets the one up on Black Adam. Black Adam manages to beat him with the power of prayer.
I did not understand that.
Yeah. So
where the hell did that come from?
Because their powers derive from the gods. And since Black Adam's, I was going to say his followers, his citizens all worship the same pantheon that he does, they garner favor from them and lock down Billy Batson.
I thought that was a little Deus Ex Machina.
It was a little bit, but it tied into like the themes of the book of Black Adam being like, maybe I shouldn't be an over-controlling person. Maybe the power does belong to the people. Yes.
Yes. He's using the wisdom that he has so often ignored. Thus making him, he's the hero of this book.
Yeah, it was the best Black Adam story I've read in a long time.
They really should have called this like, You're the Villain Shazam.
Yeah. Because Black Adam's he is still a all-controlling fascist dictator.
Yeah.
Because, man,
the protector.
DC has an awful lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not ambivalent, but gracious dictators.
Oh, yes.
Between him and Sinestro, and there's more that I can't think of right now. Of just like, guys, sometimes fascism's cool if it's a good dude.
Yeah, if he's charming, you should go for it. He's all about that.
Yeah. But, it was a really fun issue. I am excited to see what they do with Black Adam next. And if the movie takes its direction from this style, then they could do worse.
You think that The Rock is going to start turning Black Adam into a charming guy from the islands instead of the despotic man from the Middle East?
Can Doc become an island?
I've been using quotation fingers. Those are retired. Go on.
Will Can Doc be an island? Maybe. Who's to say? I'm still going to see it because it's a comic book movie, so I'm going to see it.
Yeah, of course.
And B, it's a Dwayne Johnson movie, and I see an unhealthy amount of those. So it is what got me to finally watch a Fast and Furious movie.
Let's talk about a little bit of a sidebar when you're talking about comic book movies and hear the fact that Joker is making crap loads of money.
I still haven't seen Joker.
And neither have I.
Probably not going to see it till it's on DVD because Lighthouse is out this weekend and that's got my money. So
I heard an NPR thing on Lighthouse before we get too off. We're going to go off on tangent on this one. It's a black and white movie.
Yeah.
And set in 1890s?
Yep.
I'm actually kind of curious about it.
Arpats and Willem Dafoe from Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch, which is one of my favorite movies of the last decade.
So they're kind of pulling a Shining with these guys.
It's a lot of things I really like poured into a blender. And I do think it's a little bit hilarious and very telling of the times that every single interview Batman comes up.
Oh yeah, naturally, of course.
Of course. We gotta keep the old clickbait rolling. Someone's gotta keep CBR in business. I'm sure every day this week we'll have a different quote about Batman that will be turned into an entire article on every single comic book news website because that's just the way the world goes.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Rot Pat's being Batman is like the hottest news article going on. Every time I'm on Facebook, all I get is variations of that. And will the Joker cross over and all this other nonsense?
I am very excited for his performance, though. So.
I am, too. I'm just not so much the hype machine that's happening on the side.
So before we dive into our giant pile of spidery goodness.
We do have lots of spiders.
A la Craven's Last Hunt when he's bathing himself in the spiders. That's how I felt this week.
You and your Craven, man.
I do want to give a little shout out to a couple of Swamp Thing titles that came out this week. Mm-hmm. A dollar reprint of Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson's Swamp Thing #1 with maintaining the beautiful purple trim on the cover.
Oh, yeah, I saw that there. Wow, it is very Wrightson, isn't it?
Oh, man. And then also the another DC 100-page giant for Swamp Thing with a lead story by Mark Russell. There's a story illustrated by Tom Mandrake, and also reprints the first issue of Paul Dini's Zatanna series, which was cruelly cut short by the New 52.
Oh, that is sad. Oh, I also found out the easy way to pull Gideon's strings is to talk shit about Swamp Thing.
It's true. It's big Swamp Thing season. My girlfriend is just recently fallen in love with Saga of the Swamp Thing, so that's a big book in our house right now. Is anything Swamp Thing.
Oh, well, moving on, we're going to start our amazing journey into Spider-Man territory with his girlfriend.
Amazing Mary Jane. Oh, it's such a fun book. I absolutely loved it.
Easily the best Spider-Man book this week.
Yeah, and you know what? Full Circle was no slouch, but Amazing Mary Jane was just delightful.
It really was.
Yeah, I love pretty much anything Leah Williams does, and this was no exception. You've got Mary Jane. We saw her head out west in an earlier issue of Amazing, where she got a movie offer. And this is where we get the reveal that the director is actually
Quentin Beck, the Mysterio. And yet another angle on redeeming Mysterio.
Yes.
How many times are we going to redeem this poor guy?
Quentin Beck's seen some stuff.
We definitely go to the well on redemption. We start with Mysterio.
I really appreciate that he is not hot. He does not look like Jake Gyllenhaal.
He looks like a doof.
He looks like Mo from the Three Stooges, as he should. He's got the bowl cut.
Haircut.
Steve Ditko just had a grudge against someone with a bowl cut, I guess.
Yeah, it's I'm going to make this guy hideous. We're going to put a hell out of him for a reason.
Doc Ock, Mysterio. There's got to be more bowl cut Spider-Man villains out there.
There's some bowl cuts out there, but the two hit up is the ones you got. So apparently Mysterio is trying to make a movie that redeems or is a redemption story for Mysterio, a sympathetic one, which I think is interestingly timed.
Yes, you pointed this out to me. I did not make the connection until you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, basically, this feels like a right-up send-up of what's currently going on with Joker. The romanticizing of the villain.
There's a fun bit where MJ is talking to Pete about it, and she was like, and I explained it to you, it's like, it's not about like empathizing with him or making him look like a good guy. It's making like the Breaking Bad of superhero cinema.
It's like, boom, Joker. Perfect timed. Well done,
like,
Marvel.
Damn, you sold me a bit more on Joker. doesn't have Mysterio in it, though.
We're going to have to go to Joker together. I have to go to Joker together one of these days. I'm gonna drag you out to a theater.
We'll see. I've seen that staircase scene reposted with different songs, though.
You know, that's actually now a tourist spot.
Yeah, which
I saw a picture of. There's people all over it now.
I feel bad for people who live in that area.
Yeah, what is that called? It's like the 176 steps or something like that.
Something like that. I'm sure it was a miserable part of someone's commute, and now it's even worse.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a lot of steps, and apparently now there's a lot of people all over it taking pictures doing this.
I will say unexpected character that I really like seeing, the kangaroo.
Yeah, I was really surprised because she flat out goes, "Oh, hey, kangaroo. No, I prefer if you call me Dave."
Spider-Man's greatest foe / Barney Rubble cosplayer.
Yeah. So apparently he's like a grip.
Yeah.
And that's when you first get the inclination that something's not on the up and up. So Mysterio not is only making a movie about Mysterio, but he's also doing it under the guise of a very famous director who he's tricked into going off to Antarctica and making a thing about penguins, or the jaws of penguins.
Yes, but he's not even making it right then. He is scouting to find the perfect penguin for the role.
Which will take a year.
You get a panel of him like taking serious photographs of penguins.
It's like, that'll keep him out of my hair long enough for me to mimic him, do this bit, crank it out on the budget that we've got, and get it out the door. So this whole thing is beautifully drawn, I have to say.
Carlos Gomez, whose work I'm not familiar with, I'm definitely going to dig into his bibliography after this.
I wasn't really aware of it too. Some of the cool things I really like about this is the fact that not only is this kind of like pointing the point at Joker, but it's also pointing out something that Marvel Studios has a problem with, and well, Marvel in itself is just writing women badly.
Yes. It's a major plot point of Mary Jane is going back and having to rewrite her role because Mysterio cannot write women.
She goes, yeah, I like where you're going with this. Is great, but the dialogue is awful. And why am I in this weird catsuit, which I might remind you, I've ripped 3 times already today.
There's a really fun scene where they're driving around the lot and Mary Jane's just throwing ideas at him. He's like, oh man, that works really well. Yeah, I'm way more interested in this now. And
he's maybe we should do this, and it'll give her this great backstory. And then she's like, do I hear a spinoff happening?
Also, a couple more things before we move on. I love the full page of Quentin going, we are making art here, people. Where it's just beat panel of him clapping.
Yes.
And the last page reveal of what the kind of, I guess, action-y hook for the series is going to be
is the Sinister Six.
The Savage Six.
Was it the Savage Six?
After those were some of the animal guys that Kraven had rounded up.
Oh, that's
in
right.
That Kraven arc.
So that whole hook.
Yeah, like Voltron, or not Voltron.
Voltron's in there. Holy shit.
Vulture, Stegron, King Cobra, the Scorpion, the Rhino, and there's
Vulture.
Vulture. I think I already said Vulture.
Did you already say Vulture?
I did already say Vulture.
We got a mysterious 6th member we don't know.
And maybe they'll form a Voltron. Who knows?
And then Voltron's in the background. Just
Vulture, and I'll form the head. But it's just this little tiny exposed old man head. Also the 20-second dance break between MJ and Pete. Adorable.
That was very cute.
Cutest page I've seen in a while.
That was very cute. I really love whoever is writing this. I can't remember.
Leah Williams.
Leah Williams is writing on this. Who has she done before?
She did during Age of X-Men. She wrote the Extremis miniseries, which that was the one that had, as we call them in the store, Sweet Daddy Duke's blob, where he got like a He got a complete character overhaul, and I don't want to spoil it, but
okay,
yeah, it's the best thing to come out of Age of X-Men was her mini. She also did a Emma Frost one shot that was great, a What If Magic Became Sorcerer Supreme one shot that was really good, and the War of the Realms Giant Men miniseries where
I didn't read any of those.
They were. I first read her in the Emma Frost one shot, and then the What If came out like that same month, and then I was like, okay. These are amazing. I'll pick up anything she does. And so far, I haven't been steered wrong.
As attractive as the idea of a magic one shot and What If, I just, for whatever reason, didn't pick it up. Because haven't they done that before?
I feel like it's come up, but
this is a different take.
Yeah, and it's very, very good. I highly recommend it. And I think the same creative team is doing the Doctor Strange The End one shot. They're coming out in January because they're bringing The End back.
This might have nothing to do with it, but who is writing the New Mutants?
The new series?
Yeah.
I believe it's Jonathan Hickman with Ed Brisson.
Okay, good. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
that's where Magic's going to show up next. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I really like the fact that they're going out of their way to finish the full original team by going out to get Cannonball. So
and Mondo's going to be in it.
I don't know Mondo I don't know Mondo from when I last saw him, which was as a villain.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that developed.
I'm going to assume that Krakoa made everyone back into their best selves, so he and Skin get redemptive arcs.
Speaking of that, well, you know what? I'm going to wait until we talk about Marauders to talk about that.
So I guess that's a good enough segue to go into this week's Vanilla Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, which is really kind of a setup issue on the whole 2099 thing that they're going to get ready to do. But it does do a little bit of backstory because we see Peter... I don't know, is matriculating correct? I don't think. But hanging out with the other teachers.
Oh, no, those are his other students.
Oh, they are students?
Yeah. Okay. They're all in grad school because he's working on getting his degree again after Doc Ock's credential.
Yeah.
So there's a complicated opening arc where it turns out that since Doc Ock wrote all those things that got Peter's doctorate, it's technically plagiarized from other Doc Ock work.
And because there's software that allows people to track by the nature of their writings and their styles where they actually came from, they deduced that all the stuff that Pete had come up for can be traced back to Dr. Octavius and therefore not his.
I'm glad they did that because it did really, really bother me that Peter Parker would coast by on Doc Ock's coattails for getting him his degree like that.
I did feel that was a
character who's defined by overwhelming sense of guilt and responsibility would just be like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't have to work for this. It felt wildly out of character for me. So I'm glad they've walked that back. And now he's actually going to school again.
And not only they walked it back, but they give him a sense of redemption through Kirk Connors.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, Pete, I know you screwed up, but I want to give you your opportunity to get your stuff back on the path.
And he teaches as a lizard man. It's very fun.
Oh, that was hilarious. I did like that. So anyway, he runs into a student who has probably the only working bit of webware back from when Parker Tech or Parker Industries was around. So I thought that was kind of cool because the whole hook on the whole web things is that they used it as another Deus Ex Machina I'm going to throw out there to solve the day. And they basically blew up all the watches. Yeah. So this is like the only remaining one. I did like the fact that the kid like retro-teched his watch. Yeah. So even though it's buggy, it still kind of works. And I like that.
And they look very wild. They're these massive, it looks like you've got a knife-shaped iPhone currently attached to your wrist.
Yeah. It should never really be worn. It's arrow-shaped. So it's got like a point here and the tail end's here. So the minute you do this, you've hurt yourself.
Yes. I can no longer rev my hog.
Yeah. And it's not like a simple band. I mean, that's like a cuff.
Yeah.
You got to wear a cuff. This is not something for the dainty of wrist.
It's very good if you're going to block a sword.
Yeah.
They're bracers.
Yes. These are basically webware bracer style.
But yeah, you get basically a little dust up then with the Foreigner and Silver Sable's there.
I love the fact that Foreigner is back.
Yeah, a guy I haven't seen in forever, which they do allude to.
Yeah, he even talks about the fact that the Foreigners say, there's a reason why you haven't seen me very recently, and or for a while, because I have decided I like you.
And Spider-Man's a jukebox hero.
Yeah, I like your style. I wish I could do it, but I have to be serious if I'm going to be taken seriously as a villain properly is. But yeah, even though I like you, I still have to beat the crap out of you because I got to sell the Infinity Formula, which is what they used to keep Nick Fury all young and spry back when he was doing his S.H.I.E.L.D. days before he ended up on the moon.
And then we get a good deal of foreshadowing for the 2099 arc that's going to be coming up with Miguel waking up in the present and jumping out a window, finding out he can't remember how to glide or web sling and crashing down into the streets into a taxi.
Thank God our web guys are durable when they fall.
Exactly. They got some strong spider bones.
Do you remember back in the Tobey Maguire days when he fell? I mean, and he hit a few things going down, like that broke some bones. And he just stood up looking, I'm cool. It's like, yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, Spider-Man can take some hits.
My back. Great bit. And I will say probably my favorite thing about this issue is Pat Gleason joining the art team, which I was very, very angry about him leaving Young Justice. But I was like, damn, he draw a good Spider-Man.
I wish I could share that pain, but I haven't yet read the Young Justice issues.
It's really good when Pat Gleason's on it. It takes a notable step down when he leaves. I actually recently just dropped the book because I was just like, I need to cut back on some titles and I might pop back in it later. But the Earth 3 stuff was fun.
Speaking of dropping books, tell me about Avengers 25.
Yeah, it was fine. Nothing really got achieved from the book at all. It's so frustrating, especially because when we read Ghost Rider, we're like, okay, maybe we'll like understand a bit more after reading Avengers. But there's no change and
there's no paradigm shift.
Nothing happens. Yeah, Robbie's still Ghost Rider. Johnny Blaze is still King of Hell and he's still an asshole.
Yeah. Nothing is definitively done.
CGR goes off to be annoying in space.
The Avengers give an opportunity to Johnny Blaze to be good.
And he's like, bye.
He just pulls a Homer Simpson. Just kind of
him sinking into the ground of hell is the funniest thing. I lost my shit at that. There's also, I loved the opening where Robbie is like, I don't have a car anymore. And then you see the Avengers come in on a pirate ship with Wakandan engines.
And Asgardian wood.
And Captain Marvel's driving.
And Stark tech.
And all I could hear in my head was Gangplank Galleon from Donkey Kong Country. But like overcharged and
it was overcharged with She-Hulk's gamma energy.
And Blade is there.
Yes, it was so over the top. And then, of course, all this is delightfully set on fire at the very last moment to make it a proper Ghost Rider vehicle.
It was delightful. And that was fun. But yeah, it just felt like I was like, okay, so I kind of just wasted my time with this story. Because I mean,
you really did. And what really came out to it, and we predicted this was probably going to be the swan song for Robbie Reyes. And what Marvel did, what sometimes Marvel does when it wants to hold on to something and not quite do anything with it, it did a soft retire. Basically, you get to keep your powers, but head out of town or something for a long time. Because we're not going to need you until we're going to need you.
This is another thing I do think is really funny. So Robbie gets to take a break from being an Avenger for a little bit. I think he's going to probably come back in an arc. But the next arc, they're going to space prison. And they're swapping him out for Black Widow. And I'm just like, that is much less utility than you get for a Ghost Rider when you have to fight super-powered space Hulks in space prisons.
So you've decided to check out on Avengers for a while.
Yeah, I'm not super interested in the Avengers BC stuff, which we get more set up in here.
I'm not either.
Tony Stark gets sent back in time, and I'm like, I don't care about 1 million BC. I'm interested in the Mephisto stuff. I'm interested in the Squadron Supreme stuff that's in there. But yeah, the next one, they're going to space to investigate the Star Brand, which is being reworked into more of a Hulk-like thing.
I'm going to say it right now as far as Tony Stark. The best time travel he's ever done was that bit when he time traveled with Dr. Doom to King Arthur times.
Oh, so good.
That's it. Iron Man number 150. Probably one of my all-time favorite Iron Man issues.
Quest.
It was super cool. And it had that gigantic spread of the war between Morgana Le Fay and King Arthur and Dr. Doom and Iron Man. I was like, I wish I could make this into a poster and put it on my wall. As a child, I just loved this stuff.
So fun.
Of course, I had the typical 80s Marvel edit. All the blood was black.
Of course.
Yeah, but it was still implied.
Everyone bleeds
heavily
coffee.
Heavily bloody. I mean, these days, they don't really care about that, do they?
No, you get a decent amount of blood. Or you get like when Ryan Ottley was doing that Carnage fight in Amazing Spider-Man, and it's just like, oh no, it's not blood, it's just symbiote.
Yeah, it's just Ewing red symbiote jizz.
Moving on to going back to another Spider-Man title.
Yep.
Spider-Man Full Circle was a super, super fun jam issue from...
And yet another surprise 89 page
yeah.
thrown at
I'm
me.
like, hey, Casey, read this book. It's going to be great. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, so oftentimes I read these books right before I'm supposed to come out here. And I have a definitive time in my head. Okay, I've got to get here to the studio before rush hour hits here in San Antonio. I got 20 minutes before I'm going to hit I did it again. 20 minutes before I get out here, it's like, you know what? I could probably crank out one more issue. So I open up this thing on digital, and it's 89 pages long.
It's a long one.
So
it is a jam issue from it. I had to write down all the creators because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So I read the first part of this because Chris Pacello.
Yes.
Damn. I read his hook and then I realized, okay, so now all the other chapters are coming into play. I can't read all that nonsense. I'm going to read this first part. I'm going to read the wrap up so I can kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with. But you sat through the entire thing.
So the way it worked out was they had all the creative teams only read the section that came before theirs. So Jonathan Hickman and Chris Pacello did the first section. And then Gerry Duggan and Greg Smallwood did their section just based off of what was in Hickman's section. After that came Nick Spencer and the All Reds, and then so forth for 7 parts. And when everything was done, all the writers came back together to write out the ending.
And here, check this out. Rob has just put up a picture of all the text messages going back and forth. For this, just basically this giant game of telephone.
It was very fun. So the different creative teams are, the first section is Jonathan Hickman and Chris Pacello, Gerry Duggan and Greg Smallwood, Nick Spencer and Mike Allred, Kelly Thompson and Valerio Schitti, Al Ewing and Chris Prouse, Chip Zdarsky and Rachel Stott, Jason Aaron and Cameron Stewart, who I haven't seen do art in forever. Really? I love Cameron Stewart, and I was very glad to see him in here. And then all the aforementioned with Mark Bagley drawing the ending.
Mark Bagley. Let's see. I went to my 2 favorites when I was looking at what I wanted to read. But if you saw that thing that we posted just a moment ago with the text messages of how this whole thing came together. And I guess they basically went out and had lunch and decided how they were going to end this book.
We obviously can't go super in depth into everything because each part is just jam packed with delight.
Yeah, we really can't even go piece by piece on how the story ends. We can just tell you it starts off with S.H.I.E.L.D. up in a satellite. And they found that and AIM has basically captured Spider-Man for 2 weeks. And this is during the black suit Spider-Man era, after Symbiote. So yeah, we got old school Nick Fury rocking the Infinity Formula, second mention, yay. Letting them know, okay, we came to get you. And then as they're leaving, Spider-Man hears a voice from another cell saying, hey, let me out. And it's like, man, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to let you out. It's like, no, trust me. Just let me out.
It's like, you were just captured for 2 weeks and you got out. Why don't I get to get out?
Well, I got to go about the greater of 2 evils. Maybe you're worse than AIM. I tell you what, I'm going to unlock this door, but you got to leave when we're out of here. Foreshadowing. God, I almost did it again. So that we find out the whole story, just madness involving the whole story we got with like Cap Wolf references and Peter turning into a giant pig.
There's a lot of Peter Porker in this.
Yeah. Was Mike Allred in this art pool?
The Allreds did the Nick Spencer story,
because that looked like the Vivisector from Ecstatics.
Yes.
And then that of course turned into Cap Wolf, which is a reference to the Captain America storyline where everybody turned into werewolves.
Mark Grunwald was still my favorite Captain America writer. Sorry, Ed Brubaker. Love Bucky Cap, but I love Grunwald's run. He was on the book for over a decade.
Yeah. And the man did Squadrons Supreme. I mean,
exactly.
That's a wonderful
one of the all-time
series.
Great Marvel creators.
Yes.
And also a ton of great editing work from him.
Yeah. So a lot of madness sprouted from this book, far too much for us to really reference on it. But when it comes back, we find out a lot of time travel. The whole hook is that he keeps time traveling and then trying to come back to fix it and just keeps getting worse.
Yes. I want to give a special shout out, though, to the Jason Aaron, Cameron Stewart story, just because in all the Spider-Ham craziness, we do get a Kraven's Last Hunt Spider Ham character who, in an homage to one of my favorite creepy scenes from that, where Kraven is naked and showering himself with spiders.
Of course.
Where you see this I think it's Craveham the Hunter is his name, lathering himself with bacon. I must become the ham.
That's so awful.
It's so good. Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man Full Circle. Buy it now because...
Absolutely. If you have to buy one book this week, it would have to be this one.
Delightful $10 tome, because they're reprinting it in January as a $30 hardcover. So don't be a sucker. Go out and buy it now.
Oh, we were going to get a markup. We're going to charge you $20 just to make it hard.
Exactly.
I said that. Moving on. Let's see. We've got
Immortal Hulk. It's a book that we...
I was going to say Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
This is a book that just blew my damn mind.
Oh my God, it was wonderful. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that hate this issue, but I absolutely adored it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that's absent about this, it's, well, Hulk. Kind of. This book is extremely alien.
Yes,
I mean, like
in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically told from the perspective of an alien in the universe after ours, and they really got bold with this and went anti-humanoid. Mm-hmm. I mean, just even the basis of how this being exists is alien. They really went all out on this one. But it was all to pretty much describe the fact that now Hulk is essentially Galactus.
And he's got some sweet, sweet Galactus shorts.
And he does have some Galactus shorts. And he has gone out of his way to destroy everything.
Yes. He is the breaker of worlds, and he's broken all but I think one world at that point.
But one world and one star.
Yeah.
And here we come to blow it all out. And he punches the world. 9 billion people dead.
Zoarudo.
Yes. So we get the last being alive in this universe asks him one question of why, and you just find this big well of hatred inside of him.
And we get the reveal that this Hulk that we've seen that survives to the end of time and eats eternity and becomes the next Galactus is not Bruce Banner in that body. It is
the one below all.
The one below all is back. And I was wondering when we would get some follow up on that stuff, because after the Hulk and Hell arc, it kind of went by the wayside. Yeah, the devil's back.
The devilest devil.
Yes.
Out devils Mephisto. Out devils Satanish.
They do some terrifying 2-page spreads, just filling you with awe and the scale of oh God, it's so creepy.
Yeah, and then that one picture where you just see how empty his soul is, and the walls of his empty soul are Banner-esque.
Yeah.
This book tripped me the hell out.
Yeah. Herman Garcia does the art in it, and he does such a good job of keeping things so bizarre and alien and just indescribable, like really gorgeous stuff.
And you have to wonder, you're sitting through this book, I'm like, oh, okay, how is this going to relate to the main story? This is like completely out there. But what's going on is the alien has created like this strange abomination of a creature to send back in time
with the memories and knowledge of what's
going on with this universe. So basically our boy Hulk and his team are going to get this thing and realize, if we go on this path, this is what we become.
But someone else gets it first.
The leader.
Yes. Who is my favorite Hulk villain. And I've been waiting for him to show up in this series, and him having this knowledge and also singing the ending to Mr. Rogers while he is dissecting the creature from the next universe and finding this little nugget.
Making leader seem a little off edge, off his rocker. Just enough for us to spook.
It's been a rough couple decades. I mean, he died, 3 times alone in the Peter David run?
At least. And then there's Leader as a character in the MCU that they've largely abandoned.
Oh my God. I'm so disappointed in that, because I love Tim Blake Nelson. He's such a good actor. And I remember when I saw him
see him again in Watchmen.
Yes.
I was really excited. He's easily my favorite cop character in Watchmen, which we're going to talk about.
Oh, yes.
We're really going to talk up some Watchmen here.
But I was so hyped as a kid, because I was like, oh my God, they're going to do a movie with the Leader. This is going to be great. And then I never got it. Heartbroken. Damn you, studio politics, keep me from getting another Hulk solo movie. And our last title for this week is, as is tradition, an X-Men book, Marauders.
Marauders, the non-X-Men title that is an X-Men title.
Ahoy, muties.
Yes. Now, this was high concept.
Yes.
You really have to go high concept when you're thinking, okay, we want to make an X-Men book, but I really want a pirate book.
It's Mutants of the Caribbean, and it's delightful.
And I didn't know how they were going to execute this, but they managed to pull it off. And then they got a really good idea because it turns out that Kitty Pryde, who now prefers to go by Kate, coming full circle now because that's what she referred to herself at in Days of Future Past, can't go through the Krakoan teleportation gates.
Yeah, and that's after months of seeing in the solicitations her having the bandaged nose and black eye, and people are like, oh, I wonder what caused that. It's because she bonked on the portal.
Which we have no explanation as to why that's happening. I mean, one could just simply ask Krakoa, but no one seems to want to do that here.
I'm wondering if it's
maybe she slighted him.
I've got two possible ideas here.
All right.
First off, maybe her powers just make it so she can't go through portals.
That was what I was thinking about. It doesn't go gel well.
The second, more devious one is maybe they're intentionally keeping her out because she might stumble upon Moira. Because she's in her secret little spot that can only be reached through portals.
That she could just, maybe she could just easily just phase right on in that place.
Or she trips and phases through and lands in there.
Oh, wow. Well, there's possibilities. I think the first one is probably on the ball, but for story purposes, there probably is something slightly more serious. Yeah. So the concept becomes, if she can't go through the portals, then the likelihood of other mutants not being able to go through the portals is probably possible. And it turns out there are several nations that are guarding against this. Russia, for instance, is guarding theirs, saying that no mutants could possibly want to leave Mother Russia.
So we will have guns posted outside the portal so they cannot leave.
Yes. What's all the guns and tanks for? Don't you worry about that. We've also got some other nations which aren't too thrilled with mutants, just in general. And they also talk about it, but they don't show it that there's one portal that's got some people wearing white hoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the Klan is just in the air.
The Klan is definitely in the crosshairs of the comic people these days. And I got no problem with that at all. Yeah, and if we can have a nice solid issue of Nightcrawler beating the shit out of the Ku Klux Klan, I will buy that book in triplicate.
Superman and Nightcrawler. It's the team up we need.
So they're going to go on this journey to collect these mutants, and they're going to use the Hellfire Trading Company as their cover, I guess, because they got the big slow boat with the guns on it, and you got that, I guess, their schooner.
Yes,
for doing the fast work.
Kitty Pryde stole.
Yes, and will probably never ever return. So she gets Iceman in on this. She gets Storm and Pyro.
Yeah, who was a stowaway after they leave.
Pyro.
And I love the explanation because I was wondering, is it going to be the original Pyro? Is it going to be the newer one they introduced? It is the original Pyro.
Yes, who Iceman speaks up because he has the heavy Australian accent. It's like, wait, accent? You're the original Pyro. He goes, yeah, I was one of the first people that they revived. I was feeling really special about it until I found out I was the guinea pig. So some backstory is obviously necessary on this. Pyro actually has really been dead for about 20 years. He was one of the legacy virus people that died, that also took Colossus and Moira, who now actually makes complete sense. Because she was the non-mutant that got taken for that.
It kind of stymies the metaphor a little bit, but we'll see.
We'll ride with it.
I'm sure Moira X will have some dip into that a bit.
John St. Allardyce, I believe is his name, actually checked out before he died of the legacy virus. He did some heroic stuff. He basically saved Senator Robert Kelly from his own Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and changed Kelly's whole attitude about mutants completely. Pyro was single-handedly responsible for this whole thing.
Man, Freedom Force really worked, huh?
Yeah, and so he did all this great stuff and sacrificed himself, and then he died of the legacy virus. He came back during the whole Necrotia thing, but apparently they have wiped that bit away from his memory because he wasn't too nice of a guy.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Me too.
So the Pyro that they've revived is the Pyro that basically redeemed himself in the
really
0 hour.
I liked the line in House of X where it can bring them back to the best version of themselves. So it's like, cool. Don't got to worry about anything bad that's happened in the last 20 years. I really wish they could have
thought about that when they got Sabretooth back. I'm just saying. They had an opportunity.
Maybe he'll die and then they'll bring him back as I know his little buzzed cut and his mutton chops.
They could bring him back as his Weapon X form or something like that. I'm just going to complain about that every chance I get.
There was a character I was painfully reminded of today. Dog Logan.
Dog Logan. Oh, yes.
Dog Logan. It's Sabretooth. JK.
But it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's Logan's brother who's literally named Dog.
Yeah. And then they showed him in the future and he just looked like a Western dipstick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on from that.
Was disappointing.
It was.
Should have just been Sabretooth.
It should have been. And that's what Claremont wanted from day one.
Yeah.
For some kind of familial connection.
I remember for a minute they were like, he's like, I'm your dad. And then I was like, well, that was a little weird.
It was a little weird. And that was something they were trying to do. And then Claremont did his walkabout and they undid that storyline with one tiny little box. And that was when Nick Fury's like, we did a blood test. It's not true. Okay, moving along. No family reunion. Nope.
But yeah, Marauders was... We haven't even gotten to talk about the quality look, which is it's delightful. It's really super fun. Gerry Duggan is great at doing team books. He had a great run on Guardians. He did Uncanny Avengers for a bit, and that was fun. Matteo Lolli does a great job on art. Like, everyone looks super good. Got a few issues with the coloring, I think.
Which we will bring up.
Yeah. Storm's a few shades lighter than she should be. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the website, the Mary Sue, actually did a pretty lengthy article on this and the fact that Marvel has a history of doing this. And we even brought this up in this show when we were talking about Sunspot's problematic coloring. Marvel just can't seem to nail down consistent coloring on anybody who's not white.
Yeah, and it really is kind of frustrating because, I mean, it shouldn't be this easy to mess up, but it keeps happening, you know?
Yeah. And they brought back the old Cockrum design on Storm. Storm is a very dark lady.
Yeah, she is a native Kenyan.
Yeah. There's no light skin, Halle Berry, anything going on there.
Yeah.
She is straight up Kenyan and her skin tone should reflect it.
So hopefully that gets addressed in future issues.
Hopefully. I just hope, like I said, in the future, we got New Mutants coming out. Please keep my boy Sunspot the proper color.
Keeping an eye on you, Sunspot.
Don't turn him white just because it's convenient or the colors isn't paying attention.
They'll panic and just have him be powered on the entire series.
Yeah, I'll deal with that. I'll if you do that, just don't give me a whitewash Sunspot.
Exactly. It's better than having a white Sunspot.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to pretty well wrap up our comic coverage for this week. Oh, yeah. Actually, I will say,
what do you got?
There's Sinister Secrets at the back of this one.
Yes, there was. The red diamond.
Yes.
So the bar Sinistar.
Should be some fun, more mysteries to unravel as they come.
And if you're curious about this, Rob just popped up the recent Sinister Secrets that we get. Well, most of them allude to what we're doing here, but obviously there are some kind of hints to stuff that are coming up in the future, and I'm really kind of interested in that.
So yeah, I'm definitely following Marauders, and I believe next week we get Excalibur.
We do.
So
we get Excalibur, and then after that we get the twofer. New Mutants and X-Force.
Oh, yay. And then Fallen Angels is, I think, after that?
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty, well, I guess we're going to take our break right now before we dive into some multimedia news.
Indeed.
Hey, welcome to episode 11 of Hazardous Materials, last week's comics this week. This is Brooke from Haphazard Fiction, and we have made it into our tween years. I think 11 is the start of the tween years, and as everybody knows, what do tweens need? It's two things, friends and money. So what we're looking for right now, guys, is try to help us move this podcast and this YouTube channel forward. We would love it if you would give us a subscribe, give us some likes. Please provide us some comments, just something kind of keep us interactive with you guys. We'd like to grow this podcast in the way that it would be most beneficial for you, the watchers and listeners out there. And if you do like what we're doing, we would really love it if you would, like to become a patron. Join us at patreon.com and search Haphazard Fiction. On there, you can join us as a patron. $3, $5, $10 a month. Every little bit helps, but it's going to help us kind of continue growing this thing. But hey, really the big thing is thank you for tuning in to us this week. Hope you guys are enjoying the episode so far. and I take you back to Casey and Gideon with Hazardous Materials.
Alrighty, and we are back and ready to talk about some media news. First thing we want to talk about is something we both watched over this past week, the Watchmen pilot.
Oh my God.
Which I was very tentative and kind of nervous about going in because I was like, I don't know.
I didn't really give this two thoughts about. I mean, I heard, okay, it is HBO. They do put in some really good stuff, but it's just Watchmen. I was like, I'm not really thrilled about this.
Every interview leading into it, I did not care for. But my God, the show itself is phenomenal.
It knocked it out of the park.
Adored it. I was engrossed the entire time.
Absolutely. I mean, and when you're thinking, okay, it's Watchmen, but this felt exceedingly original.
Yes, there's enough of the DNA of Watchmen and callbacks to the book that it's clearly a sequel to it. But it's such a fresh, original concept. And I love, this is one of the things I adore about it, is updating the book's themes of American anxieties from Cold War anxieties to modern day bubbling racial tensions. And there's so much. I did not know about the massacre of Black Wall Street until this episode. And it made me very mad about all of my history education growing up in small town Texas. I had
the exact same feeling when the racial riots of Tulsa in 1921. I was like, this has got to be like some alternate universe stuff. And I had to read about the fact that they specifically opened this for a reason. Yeah, and it's a really part of American history. Yeah, and that basically the United States was at war with the Klan for like 40 years, but just no one talks about it. Like, I was like, oh my God. My mind was blown. There was some imagery in this episode that was outright chilling. So I did a lot of reading after that episode. And I did too. I was like, thanks, public education. Yeah, isn't that great? That's not disparaging. Public education is a very important service of our country. Yeah, I just wish that they would focus on something that was non-white every once in a while. I just wish we learned about a few major things like that instead of just glazing over the Reconstruction period of America. Or during a time when, the Klan went outright shooting people in the streets of a major American city. It's horrifying. But okay. So amidst this chilling opening, it's framed very much like Superman's origin. Very much so. You've got basically a small child, and his parents are trying to get him out of town. So they're running from explosions. His father is either a cop or a serviceman, probably a serviceman. I'm thinking from the uniform, and he takes him over to another gentleman who's got a wagon or some kind of a large truck that they're taking out, and they pack him up, very Superman Jor-El style into this truck. And then the truck takes off and the little child looks outside the bullet hole that's been created in his box to see the building blow up behind him. And it's like, okay, that was as Superman as it's going to get. Yeah. And the wagon winds up crashing in the middle of a big field. Everybody's dead except him and a baby. Yes. There is a baby. I'm curious what that baby comes into play. Me too. I don't want to get super, super spoilery with. There are a lot of things spoiler about this, and I want to talk about some of the things that are spoilers, but we're going to keep our hands off. Because I want everyone to watch and have that same reaction. We really do. I want to talk a little bit about some of the major characters in this. Regina King plays a teacher in this movie. Oh, she's not a teacher. She's a baker. She's a baker. Yes. But she's visiting a school and talking about what she does. And that's right. There's already a teacher there. And you get kind of a glimpse of what America is like, that their flag is essentially a large circle filled with blue and stars and stripes. Vietnam is a state which was established in Watchmen. Like that's and apparently the president is Robert Redford still. Yes. Apparently he's one of those presidents for life types because he's been in like Nixon was in Watchmen. Nixon had been president for I think 30 years. Yeah. So Redford has basically been president since the 80s. And I guess gave people, how best do I phrase this? Reparations were basically finally given to African Americans in the United States. Which are disparagingly called Redfordations. Yeah, that didn't go over too well when that was actually uttered. Yeah. Somebody got their nose bent on that one. So Regina King basically plays this baker, which we're going to go a little bit spoiler just to kind of get into this idea. It turns out that she's a cop. Now, in Watchmen, or at least in this Watchmen universe, being a cop means keeping a secret. You can't be a cop in public. All cops wear this yellow mask you see right here in front of you. Every time they're dealing with each other, anytime they're dealing with the public, the mask goes up. This happened a lot because one of the main characters in this episode is the chief of police. And when the chief of police walks around...
Don Johnson.
Yeah. And when the cops that he sees walk around, the minute they see him, their masks go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only one who is publicly a police officer. He's like a public figure of the town. But he lives very isolated and is heavily guarded.
Yeah, and it turns out that when a cop gets hurt or something like that, they have to cover that up too. Like, oh, well, he got carjacked. You know, he's in the hospital because he got carjacked or something like this. So the detectives are basically costume heroes. They have their own identities. They have their own looks. They're the ones that
heroes as much as you can be in the Watchmen. Right. That's another thing that we'll have to get into. So
she's a hero called Sister Knight. Really cool. I love the way she looks. She got the whole black smear right here, so you can't even tell what ethnicity she is.
The veil over her mouth.
Yeah,
and it's very, very nun-esque, but like badass superhero nun.
Badass nun just kicked the crap out of me. I don't know what's going on here. I really love her character.
Yeah,
I really like the fact that they went with a female-centric character who has a husband at home. And it's like mirrored what is casually is done with action heroes, where you have the male lead go off and the wife stays at home. You don't really see them that often. They're kind of a B character. Her husband is clearly a B character in this, but he supports her completely.
Don't you disparage my man Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Yeah, I'm not disparaging him.
Black
I'm just
Manta
saying,
will not. He did not show his whole ass for this disrespect.
But his role is what typically would be regulated to the female lead.
He is a supporting character, but I do love what we said at the exact same time. Weird. But I do love his performance here. He does a great
Manta.
job.
I'm a big fan of Manta only because I hate Manta so much. I really hate Manta. I hate Black Manta because he's a good villain.
Yes, he is eminently hateable.
Yes.
Great character.
I'm sure I've brought this up at least once. I think probably when I was in like the comic shop with you, we were talking about how much I hate Black Manta because he's a good villain.
Great bastard.
Anyway,
Yahya Abdul is not a bastard in Watchmen.
He's not a bastard in Watchmen. He's a really cool dude. He definitely supports his woman. And I want to talk about another Tim Blake Nelson, which you probably remember from A
Brother, Where Art Thou?
Thank you.
Incredible Hulk, Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the leader in the MCU. Guess that didn't happen. He plays a detective called Looking Glass and has one of the coolest interrogation scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
they're basically facing off against this white supremacist guy, and they want to put him in the pod. So they get him in this weird spherical room, and Looking Glass, who has a completely reflective mask, as you can see in this picture, shows him a lot of imagery and asks him a lot of questions. Some neutral questions. He knows he's going to get a truthful answer, right? And then some instigating questions, like what would happen if I took a defecation on the flag right now? What would you do about that? And he basically gets everything he needs out of this guy. I love Looking Glass. I think he is so cool looking, and I really love this scene of him interrogating that guy. One
thing I really want to get into on this show is I had a big concern going in as like, oh, is this all just going to be like propaganda? Is it going to be very like, oh, the police are definitely good guys who will always go after white supremacists? Which I was like,
that could be a little problematic.
That's the least realistic thing about this superhero show. But no, it seems to me that they are definitely going to dig into that. Yeah, these are some pretty messed up tactics. Like, even though they are fighting like a very awful group, they're kidnapping people out of their homes on hunches. Beating them until they bleed and piss themselves.
Yeah, well, that was definitely P was coming out of that door. And they're all masked.
Yeah, doing interrogation that, I mean, he says he got what he says. Oh, he's definitely that. But
that's basically just one detective.
Exactly. Just, yeah, it was as effective as a lie detector test, basically. So, and there's and the whole like hiding their identities, being only accountable to themselves. Like there's a whole big scene. So one of the things in this show's universe is that they have to get permission to draw their firearms. Their firearms are locked in their holsters until they get approval. Yeah.
And it says, are you in danger for your life? And apparently there's like some severe by the book kind of guy there that goes by the name of Panda,
who has a panda head as his costume.
Which we finally see. He's a doofy looking dude with a gigantic furry panda head, but he is a stickler for the rules, and you have to be in danger for your life for your gun to be unlocked, like you were talking about. But go on.
And so the entire police squadron votes to suspend the restrictions for 24 hours, and Panda points out that like this is a bad idea. Like there's going to be war in the streets, and I'm curious to see how they tackle that, because it definitely feels like they only answer to themselves. Like the core message of the book is who watches the Watchmen, and clearly we have a very unchecked police force.
And it's very clear that Panda is not well liked amongst.
No, yeah, he is
his guys,
very despised. And I mean, I kind of get it. Panda is a very obnoxious character. It doesn't mean he's wrong.
No. And that might be the foreshadowing.
Yeah. After a decade of 24 and very pro extrajudicial methods,
24.
I'm really hoping they take a critical lens at the vigilante as a hero. And just based on the source material and this pilot episode, I really think they will.
Yeah, I do too.
But less thematic things. I really loved the squid showers.
Yes. How random was that crap?
And I like the implication that it is
extra dimensional.
Not that it's extra dimensional. The implication that it's a hoax.
Yeah, but they did talk about the fact that there's extra dimensional attacks, and that's what it feels like to me.
They label it
it's a little bit of a Cthulhu reign,
because that's what the cover story was from Watchmen, and they're just continuing the cover to keep people from being like, oh, maybe it was fake. In which they mentioned that the 7th Cavalry, the white supremacist group that is inspired by Rorschach, that one of their beliefs is that the attack on New York was an inside job. And I mean, just because a broken clock is right twice a day doesn't mean that they are the good guys because they figured that out. That's just a interesting little point in there. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool detail, and definitely entrenches you in Watchmen as a universe. There's the one Ozymandias scene that was really cool that I don't know if you got the same vibe, but my thought was like, oh, did he create his servants?
Yes, especially with the horseshoe. That felt like they were robots.
Is this the next step of Bubastis? Because he has experience doing... I mean, Bubastis was foreshadowing to the squid monster.
Right, because it was genetic engineering.
And then...
You think he genetic engineered his staff?
Yes, I think he did. And I think that is to draw a parallel to Dr. Manhattan, because the two characters are very not explicitly played opposite each other here, but you have them both completely isolating themselves. The one shot of Manhattan we see is him recreating a perfect recreation of Ozymandias' house on Mars. Ozymandias spends most of his scene in the nude.
Yeah.
And is writing a story about the watchmaker's son. So
interesting that they brought that up, because we all know the imagery for Watchmen is like the 4 or 5 minutes to Doomsday.
Yes.
The midnight
Doomsday
hour
clock. Almost like there's a currently running comic book series with that very title.
Right. So I thought it was almost telling that Ozymandias tapped the watch that was at that hour to get it to work again.
Yeah.
So that it's now going to Doomsday again. That had to be the most heaviest foreshadowing of all. There are some callbacks, obviously, to this. You do get that one scene of Dr. Manhattan you see from a very distance, but it's a glowing blue dude. It's kind of obvious who it is.
You know who it is.
Yeah. Now, of course, the Rorschach masks.
The police use a owl ship.
That was the best part. I loved that.
That was really
when that
cool.
thing came out of the shadows, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But they crapped it out.
Yeah. A part of me, kind of a minor theory, maybe spoilery, but a part of me is wondering if Judd is Dan in like in a new identity or a night owl.
No, night owls. Yeah.
I mean, between the ship and there's a copy of Hollis Mason's book on his desk.
Oh,
which I kind of hope not, just because the way the pilot ends. But that was kind of what I was thinking. I was like, is this Night Owl? Also, just because
he'd be the right age.
Yeah, and Gene Smart's playing a older Lori.
Yeah,
and I'm
Silk Spectre. I forgot about that.
I think she's an FBI agent in the show. So.
Yeah.
Very curious to see how Watchmen shakes out. But
I really
so
am.
far, this is my new obsession.
Yeah.
Which is very good because it came out the week after Righteous Gemstones ended, and I was like, what do I have to watch weekly now besides Good Place?
I don't know anything about Righteous Gemstones, and I do love me some Good Place. I'm sad that's coming to an end.
Sure, we should probably move on though, just because we do have
other things to talk about.
Talking about watching The Watchmen.
I warned my producer, once we get to Watchmen, we're going to be chewing the fat on that one quite a bit. Sorry, man. So we're going to talk about some other stuff, which is kind of short, but Cloak and Dagger got canceled.
Yeah, disappointing. Which I guess this is seeing more of Marvel TV being dissolved.
Yeah, Marvel TV is. I don't know if it's really getting dissolved, but definitely the pieces are shifting, and it feels like this might have something to do with the fact that Jeff Loeb has not yet, but is heavily implied that he's going to announce his retirement not retirement, but his ending position at Marvel TV around Thanksgiving. I think that Cloak and Dagger is probably one of the first casualties of that, and. I'm also hearing the fact that even though Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is ending and they had intended to put a female superhero-led show to replace it, that detail will not change. Okay. So if Loeb leaves, if he stays, that fact is set in stone. So I'm kind of curious if they've already got an idea.
Maybe. I mean, for the longest time, I was like, it'll probably be like a Kamala Khan show, but she's going to be on Disney Plus. So. And
one could also think, well, it could also be She-Hulk, but then boom, she's also got a show. So who could it be? I want to hear what your idea is.
Oh man,
and I want to hear what your idea is. Post it down below. What's our new female show going to be? But first, get in. Tell me.
Maybe we'll finally get that Mockingbird spinoff.
Nah.
Maybe.
That's never going to happen. They already tried that pilot with Marvel's Most Wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
And that didn't even see the light of day. I mean, is that even in like cons? Because I mean, they shot it.
Adrian Palicki and never aired superhero pilots name a more iconic duo.
It's very true. She was the TV Wonder Woman, and we even got to see some scenes of that.
I had a bootleg copy of it. Not great.
And that costume ended up in another ABC TV show, didn't it?
Did it?
Yeah, it's like a Halloween costume. It ended up in like in Castle or something like that.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So that's what's going on there too.
But, speaking of Wonder Woman, though.
Yeah, indeed.
So we've got new casting and a release window for a first trailer for Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, which is coming out in the 20th of June of next year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what my notes are telling me. Yeah.
So the first trailer is going to drop at a convention in Brazil, which they've done this pretty historically for DC. Apparently there's a huge DC movie following down there.
I'll be.
Yeah. So I think they showed the first Aquaman trailer there. I think they showed the first Shazam trailer there.
So our boy Pedro Pascal, who's getting a lot of work lately.
The Viper.
Yes, the Viper from Game of Thrones, you can see here, who's also going to be in Disney Plus's Mandalorian as the Mandalorian, is going to be playing Maxwell Lord. Now, if this is the case, we're probably thinking this is going to be the Maxwell Lord that we don't like.
Yeah, which... It's complicated because
our relationship with Maxwell Lord is complicated.
Yes. So Maxwell Lord, for the uninitiated, was the founder of the Justice League International during the 80s. He is a smooth-talking, social-climbing businessman who, over the course of the series, develops mild mind control powers, but with the cost of having a gratuitous nosebleed when he's doing it.
Here.
20 years passed by, and in the lead up to Infinite Crisis, they decided to bring Maxwell Lord out of nowhere as a megalomaniacal villain who shoots Blue Beetle in the head.
One of the most graphic depictions of a hero death I've ever seen.
Yeah. And releases a army of killer robots on the world and is eventually only stopped by Wonder Woman snapping his neck.
Right. And of course, adding salt to the wound, we find out that this is not mind-controlled Max Lord. This is an evil Max Lord. This is really Max Lord as he's always been. He's just been playing.
Yeah. The worst part is that I really, really hate when creators go in and like, oh, you know those fun, silly comics you like? Well, those are stupid. What if they was actually messed up and evil? It's like, okay, whatever.
It felt like somebody was on a journey to get rid of everything cool about that particular part of the JLL history.
Yeah.
With Sue Dibney turning screwed up. No, not Sue Dibney. She was murdered.
Yeah.
After being
raped and murdered.
Yeah. And then Elongated Man dies in his journey to deal with that, becoming the most humorless hero I've ever seen.
We do get we got the never fulfilled promise of Ralph and Sue Dibney ghost detectives.
Yeah.
Which would have been great. We were robbed.
Yeah. But it did seem like DC, whoever was running DC at that time, had a serious grudge against that era of the JLA.
Yeah. And then we had, because not only is Maxwell Lord, the founder of the team, revealed to be evil, he shoots Blue Beetle in the head, the character who probably gained the most from JLI.
Yeah, and it's not one of those off the screen shots. I mean, as you can see here,
it blows right through his head.
Barbara Beetle took it right in the dome.
Yeah.
And he was really dead. There was no, hey, maybe he survived it. No, look at our boy. He's dead. He eventually came back after some reality warping and some restarting.
A couple of reboots later, he came back.
It took a long time. As I've implied in other episodes, when you kill off a hero, yeah, okay, great, he's coming back. But it might be years, maybe even decades before he comes back.
And that's kind of getting into the complicated part is I like those stories in a vacuum. Like that final Greg Rucka Wonder Woman story, Sacrifice, is phenomenal. Like, it's one of the best modern Wonder Woman stories. But it's just so hard to mesh it with this character who I've loved since I was a kid, who's this like goofy, fun side character for the Justice League. It was also disarming. It's really annoying.
And it was also completely disarming is that like 2, maybe 3 months after Maxwell Lord is showcased as the murderer of Blue Beetle, DC releases that mini of the Justice League, which brings back Maxwell Lord, the goofy little side
the JLI reunion book with the original creative team.
And all the people they've killed or turned evil.
Very jarring.
All back being... and how can I relate to Maxwell Lord in this book knowing full well that he's faking everything?
Yeah. It's you got to do some mental gymnastics for it. My personal one is that since the psychic powers weren't always present, that he was slowly corrupted by them.
I'm going to go with that.
And that he lied to cover his ass.
Or that we're in a vacuum.
Always faking it. Yeah, exactly.
I loved Mary Marvel in that.
Very fun.
Just the absolute innocence, but super powered Mary Marvel in that book was great. I think she stole every scene that she was in.
I liked Blue Beetle in that book being insecure about aging, so he redesigns his costume to be black with blue highlights, and Booster Gold calls him out on it.
God, I miss me some.
I think he's got a line where he's like, "Who lied to you and told you black is slimming?"
Poor Cord.
But all that said, I'm very, very excited for Wonder Woman 1984.
I am.
I'm very excited to see Pedro Pascal play slimy Maxwell Lord. And damn it, Maxwell Lord's a great Wonder Woman villain. In spite of all the buckets and buckets of baggage that comes with him, Sacrifice is a damn good story.
Did we bring up the Hocus Pocus? No.
We should, because we had natural segues this time.
We do have natural segues. Hocus Pocus is apparently getting the sequel that people have been asking for a couple of decades now.
Yeah.
And it's apparently heading to Disney Plus. Now, while a story has been drafted, apparently a director even soft selected, the 3 primaries have not attached themselves yet, but apparently they're being sought after.
If Doug Jones doesn't come back, we riot.
Yeah, well, Doug, he's going to be in everything that requires some weirdo dude in makeup. But I mean, our 3 primaries are still, healthy, even though a couple of decades have aged them a little bit. I think Bette Midler is still badass. Exactly. I think she can pull this off.
I mean, they're witches.
And knows that Patty Najimy is the one with the twisted hair.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, I think they could pull us off.
Me too. I think it'll be fun. Who doesn't love Hocus Pocus?
All right.
And I mean, because, I really just need something to convince me to get Disney Plus.
Yeah.
There's such a dearth of content.
I don't know, man. It's not like I pre-ordered it. You can pre-order a subscription service now. And yes, I sure as hell did it. Because I want me some nice Mandalorian.
Wish I had some Verizon as my carrier so I could get that free year.
Oh, yeah. Verizon did announce that they were giving Disney Plus people. Oh, my editor apparently has Verizon. Yeah, screw you. So, yeah, people on Verizon, you get a free year of Disney Plus. Ain't that cherry? I just wish that T-Mobile had the same thing.
Thanks, AT&T.
Yeah.
But I think with that, that's going to wrap it up.
That kind of wraps it up for us. Now, a couple of things we need to point out. Again, like every episode, we need to point out we're a young show. We need as many people involved with us as we possibly can. And that includes people using our Patreon site, which we have down here in the links. Smash a like if you like what we're doing. Throw some words at us.
Maybe give us a follow.
Yeah, good or bad. Give us. Let's hear about what you have to say about the female-led super team that's apparently going to be happening in ABC after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wraps up. And but most importantly, we need to let you know we're going to take a little vacation next week because it's Halloween.
And we need to spend some time with our beloved spooky loved ones,
yes.
like Rick Ryder back there.
A little dead Nova.
Here lies Gideon's hopes and dreams for comics Rick Ryder. Actually, you know what? Al Ewing's going to be writing him in a couple months, so the dream is alive.
The dream was, and speaking of which, a little bit of last minute knowledge. Apparently, Endgame and Infinity War was going to feature a Richard Ryder, but got written out at the last moment.
You hurt me.
I do. I wound, but only because I love.
Here lies Gideon's hopes and dreams.
But we're going to grab a few things that are happening during the week of Halloween. We're definitely going to be talking about that Excalibur. It's going to be dropping on Halloween.
I don't think it's a super heavy week for me next week. So.
No, it doesn't seem like it would be. So
it's a fifth week. So
we're going to cherry pick, but we're definitely going to be talking about a lot of X titles because the week that we're coming back, not only we have Excalibur, we also have New Mutants and X-Force to talk about. So
much like this was the week of the Spider.
That'll be the week of the X.
I mean, isn't that every show we do?
It is, yeah. That's pretty much true. We love us some X-Men here, especially after Hickman got a hold of it. But we'll see you after Halloween.
Yeah, have a good spooky time.